All right, everyone. I guess we call that a instant classic. Welcome into the Voice of College Football for the late night call-in show, and one of our prime nights of the year, of course, when we've got a semifinal and a berth in the national championship game of the sport that we love. So thank you so much for joining us. The call-in line is posted both in the chat. It's also posted in the description section of the video. So please, the description section of the video, we'll get to your comments and questions there in the chat. Of course, the super chat's available to you. And then, of course, the call-in line, as we will take as many calls as you keep me around for tonight. I do appreciate Adam and Jim for contributing to last night's show. Therefore, I'm going to go an extra half hour right out of the gate, but I was going to go for as long as need be tonight because it is the national semifinal and a classic. Miami 31, Ole Miss 27. What can you say about this game? Well, I tried to do my best in recapping the game on the instant analysis video. That's why I'm late. So, well, really not late. I'm on time. But thanks for waiting 15 or 20 minutes for me to get that video done. Need to get those instant analysis videos on the books and posted to the site. So thank you for that. And your comments and questions, again, are welcome. I'm going to let you guys tear it up because I have just talked for 20 minutes about this one. So that's posted. We want to hear from you. Also, we've got Leanne Herring from Ole Miss 365 standing by at some point. So I may need to clear out some calls when Leanne shows up. But let's get to the phone lines and remind everyone that the late night show here at the Voice of College Football and all the content here on the main channel and throughout the network here at the Voice of College Football brought to you by FanDuel. And of course, Miami was a 3.5-point favorite. So there was more than a championship game berth on the line on that final drive for the Canes and for possibly you. And for you, as Miami was, again, a 3.5-point favorite and trailing in the ball game, whether you had the money line or you had Miami plus the 3.5, or I should say covering the 3.5 for Ole Miss with the 3.5. It was all on the line on that final drive. But of course, we don't care about that. The Canes are in the national championship game for the first time since 2002. Wow. All right. We also want to note, everyone, that the Amazon link's in the description section of this video. And I know that you could care less. You could not give a damn right now about the Amazon link. But the Amazon link is in the description section of the videos. And when you do some shopping, please think about us. The Amazon link's in the description section of this video and all the videos, not just here on the main channel, but throughout the network. When you shop on Amazon, I'm going to say this, it's going to be marked on my gravestone. And this channel might possibly just do that. On the gravestone, shop Amazon using the Amazon link. All right. Back to the ball game. We got Leanne Herring stopping by to break down the Rebs. You can catch Leanne's work at Ole Miss 365. Leanne, how you doing tonight? I know you've had better nights, but it was a classic.
It was a classic indeed. Great to be back with our Voice of College Football family. It's been too long, Mark, but man, this time last season, the Rebels nearly weren't as far. We were talking a lot about missed opportunities. It wasn't that kind of season for the Rebels, despite all the trials and tribulations. You got to tip your hats off to these guys because definitely they've come a long way. A year has made a lot of difference, especially with what they've gone through in the last month. But this was a game that I said that was going to be won in the trenches, and it was going to come down to what teams, defensive and offensive lines, were going to put their team in the best setup. Talking a lot about Miami, including myself, we knew that Carson Beck and that offense hadn't been explosive in this postseason, but they found ways to win, and they did exactly that tonight. And that was the formula and the key, I believe, into this Miami win was Carson Beck not straying too away from what everybody was criticizing, that he wasn't doing well enough. They were saying, obviously that he wasn't explosive enough. There was no way that he was going to get past this Ole Miss defense, but yet He grinded. That Miami line did a tremendous job tonight in making sure that Carson Beck had those long drive opportunities, and I think ultimately that wear him down. But man, this was a tick for tack kind of game all 3 quarters. I mean, it was a really back and forth game. But again, I said it was going to come down to the trenches. It was going to come down to the special teams. But it is a tough loss for Ole Miss. I know you know Ole Miss fans and non Ole Miss fans are really rooting for Trinidad Chambliss, Keywan Lacey. I mean, like I said, this team has been a lot different than it was a year ago. This definitely wasn't a loss that was due to missed opportunities. Ole Miss did everything that they could, and they did everything a lot better despite it. But Miami and this one just came up, that much better in that fourth quarter when it mattered most. Especially, I mean, I think the momentum shift here, Mark, was that big end zone touchdown where Carson Beck just basically ran it in. I mean, that kind of surprised me for as meticulous and well sounded this Ole Miss defense, especially Will Eccles, Xavier Harris, that whole front seven in the trenches have been all season. To be able just to miss that and basically leave Carson Beck open to get into that end zone really was a nail in the coffin, I believe, in this game.
So, of course, this night's about Miami, bottom line, because they move on to the championship game. But we have to hit the Ole Miss angle, and obviously, your works at Ole Miss 365. And to me, maybe my biggest takeaway, and again, this is all about Miami moving on. They're the winners. They're now playing for a championship. They're a brand that was dominant in the 80s and 90s, and now they're back. But the Ole Miss story to me is remarkable because we saw a shot at one point of Coach Wilson, who was the interim coach at LSU. Now he's the running backs coach at Ole Miss. We know that they hired a offensive coordinator from East Carolina. And so he comes in and he pulls together a game plan. And after they beat Georgia, we're hearing, within 10 hours that some coaches may be there, not there. There wasn't a commitment to, okay, Lane Kiffin's taking all the coaches with him. Some of them stuck behind, but then we're still on the LSU staff that he was assembling, but they were going to hang around for the playoff run. But maybe they didn't think the playoff run was going to last through the Georgia game. So then they're taken off in the middle of a playoff run because they got to report to work on a Friday. It's just mind-boggling to me that these players can hold it together, not knowing who's going to be their coach other than Pete Golding. And just to be able to play this well against this kind of competition, Georgia, Miami back-to-back, is astounding to me.
No, it really is a wonderful story. And I think that's why so many non-Rebel Ole Miss fans really rallied behind this team because, as much as we talk about the X's and O's winning ball games, the mental strain that has been on this team for over a month and what they did against Georgia. And like you said, not knowing who's going to stay or who's going to go. But, Pete Golding said it time and time again, who's here wants to be here, but we got plenty of guys. And, I think that Golding was exactly what this team needed to be able to get this far during these trials and tribulations. I mean, he was really the coach who's been all in when he was named, the head coach after Kiffin, scooted off to Baton Rouge. And like I said, it's been a tough time for these guys, but man, hats off to these young guys for stepping up to the plate and everybody just continuing to press on because that's really what this team has done. I mean, that's all they have. They focused on, and I think that this grit that we saw from them this last home stretch got them to where they were tonight.
Leanne, we appreciate you stopping by, breaking things down. Is there anything in particular that you see front and center for this Ole Miss football team going into the offseason with Pete Golding as a first-time head coach?
I really like what Pete Golding has done, and the players have really rallied behind them. And, this is going to be an interesting offseason. I think the $1 million question heading into this offseason, will the NCAA grant that 6-year waiver for Trinidad Chambliss. And that's really going to see where things are. We know that Trinidad Chambliss kind of nipped things in the bud a couple of days ago, saying that he intends to stay at Ole Miss if he's going to get that 6-year waiver. Of course, we know his legal team is rallied up, ready to throw a motion in if something goes wrong. So, but we all know how things go with the NCAA. That process can be drawn out, but I think that's the biggest $1 million question to see the direction. But I think this offseason is just about continuing to rebuild. I think that Pete Golding has been a spark for this team because he's drawn the focus back. Like I said, he's really brought this team to a different level. Not that they weren't that before, but I think he's really brought football back to football back at Ole Miss. Like I said, he inherited a team under some difficult circumstances, and what he was able to do as a first-time head coach. This is not a guy who was a D1 football player. He was a D2 Delta State football player, has roots to Miss, but has worked under some of the top coaches. And he talked about it in his last press conference about, Nick Saban and kind of what he learned under him. And he basically said was putting together a staff and putting together, people that are smarter than you and bringing them all together and serving kind of a purpose. And I think that that's going to be really key this offseason. I mean, what he's been able to do, inheriting a team that's been through trials and tribulations, all of us trying to navigate through a portal season and recruiting. But what a lot of people don't really understand that despite him having this head coaching title, I think a big reason that we had a lot of player retention, and I don't think that's a big topic that we've talked a lot about, is what a remarkable job that this Ole Miss team has been able to do in spite of everything that's happening. They didn't have a mass exodus. I mean, we've talked about it plenty of times when college football teams in big conferences like the SEC have had these mass exodus. We talked about it when Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M, but that didn't happen at Ole Miss, during this run. Pete Golding and his staff, whether it was the one that he came in with, the one he's going to leave with, we will see. But again, he's done a good job at player retention. There wasn't a big overturn. He's brought in some really strong transfers, this offseason. I mean, so the Golding era at Ole Miss is far from over, despite this is not the story they intended it the way to end it this season. But there's a lot of bright spots. I think that, recruiting is definitely going to amp up. But I think everybody thought that there was going to be a lot of discontinuity. That was going to continue, but Golding really brought this team together. And I think that that's going to be a big turning point for Ole Miss.
So obviously everybody can catch your work on the Rebels at OleMiss365.com. And then you are still covering the Cats at Kentucky at Wildcats Wire, and also Saturday down south.
Yep, but we're throwing in Houston in the mix right now. So, yeah, a lot of things to cover. But like I said, it's been a heck of a run, heck of a season for Ole Miss. I think, like I said, the $1 million question mark for Rebels and everybody alike is to see if Trinidad Chambliss will get that waiver. But again, the last remaining days of the portal, they'll be able to focus. I guess now that's kind of everybody's challenge right now, is having the way the calendar works. That's going to be a big discussion, I think, for college football in general this offseason, because a lot of teams, I mean, are having to have coaching changes, navigating. I mean, we're going to see it tomorrow with Oregon right now, especially with Will Stein taking that head coaching job at Kentucky, and what Kentucky's been able to do while trying to be an offensive coordinator, do a semifinal. So, there's a lot of changes, I think, that are coming this offseason, after this run, but it's going to be interesting to see. But again, still, despite the way the Rebels not wanting to close their season this way, it's still been a heck of a run under the circumstances. And I expect that the program's only going to go up, because I think Pete Golding, unlike what's been happening in the past, he's not going to chase 5 stars. I think, and he's pretty much made it clear, he wants guys and a staff who wants to be here at Ole Miss. It's not about the glitz. It's not about the glamour. It's back about football. And I think this, like I said, this may not have been what the team wanted it to be, but it's exactly what they needed at the right time. So I think that this is only going to be another strong season for Ole Miss. And I wouldn't be surprised if they make another run, because I think Pete Golding has brought a lot of stability and continuity to this team. And I think it's only going to continue, even with the loss in a college football semifinal.
Leanne, thank you so much for being here. Good to see you. And I don't want to say don't work too hard, but I know better than that. So
Yeah, no, it's after here, gonna grab off here, go grab pressers and get back on the recruiting trail. I'll be at I usually spend the week, Mark, because last year is as the Navy All-American Bowl. I'm usually in San Antonio by now, but we weren't expecting no, I don't think anybody was expecting Ole Miss to make this run. So been spending my week here in Houston. But yep, tomorrow I'll be heading to San Antonio for the Navy All-American Bowl, seeing some of our recruits and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it never ends, but always good to be back with the voice of college football. And you guys have a good time talking about the U being back. But yeah, I mean, talk about it. Talk about two teams that weren't expected to be here, but both lethal and dangerous. But at the end of the night, Miami, Carson Beck got his revenge, not with the Georgia Bulldogs and an SEC team, but with Miami. So definitely going to be an interesting run to see how that Indiana Oregon game goes tomorrow.
safe travels to San Antonio. We'll be checking out your work, Leanne.
Sounds good.
Leanne Herring, of course, joining us, and we appreciate Leanne stopping by to break down the Rebels. All right, let's get to your calls. We got Trey leading us off tonight. Trey, what's going on?
How you doing, Mark?
I'm good. What you got?
Well, we've seen the game, and I was actually fishing at the same time for crappie and also watching it on my phone, so it was actually very fun.
All right.
Okay. So we've seen two different approaches here tonight. Miami really chewed up some clock for 41 minutes. They were pounding the football. They did everything I thought that they should have done to win the game, and they did. Ole Miss, they were fast. I mean, they were fast. It was like 2 minutes at the most every time they got the ball. Except for that one drive, it was like 6 minutes. But those were two different approaches, and they both worked. It's amazing how those two teams were so similar. It was so amazing to see Carson Beck throw the football, and he was more than a game manager. He was a difference maker with the running back of Miami. That was impressive. And Trinidad Chambliss again impresses us again. What do you think?
Well, I think it was a heck of a ball game. I think that Miami did what Miami football has been under Mario Cristobal, and he's built this program and this particular team in his likeness, meaning offensive line first and foremost, running game, Mark Fletcher. I even think that they should have run the ball more.
Oh, yeah.
In the fourth quarter when they were controlling the game. And it seemed like, they don't even need to open holes for the running back. They just need to push the line of scrimmage. The one scrum that they had where they pushed Fletcher down the field about 20 yards. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that in a college football game.
I didn't either.
Oh, so with 3 minutes left on the clock, I was actually surprised how much they passed the ball, but it worked. So I can't be critical of it because Beck made the throws, but with 3 timeouts and 3+ minutes left, I thought that they would rely on the running game a little bit more. But yeah, as you mentioned, Beck came through in the clutch, made the right throws, was the veteran quarterback. Chambliss was amazing. Miami punched them in the gut to start the game. We're the dominant team, but Ole Miss hung in there, stayed within the score, and then started to work the offense and make some plays. And it was a classic. It was a great play. It was a great game, and Miami should be given all the credit. They're back. They're an elite team for at least this season. We'll judge whether they are going to be an elite program moving forward. But for this season, they're an elite team, no question about it. Maybe the best team in college football. But I am still astounded at the play of Ole Miss under those circumstances. I am still astounded, and I think it's remarkable.
I'd say this, that I was actually surprised with the busted coverage a couple times that Ole Miss have. I know their defense is not easy, but they're kind of mediocre in defense. I didn't think they'd have that much busted coverage as they did. And Carson Beck really took advantage of it multiple times. He sat back there and it seemed like there was no pressure at all. And he just shredded them. And same with Trinidad Chambliss. Because see, Miami usually have the better defense, and looked like that really didn't show up either. So it was kind of almost a free-for-all shootout in a way.
Yeah, it certainly turned into one. It did not look like one early.
No. That fourth quarter was like chaos. I
Yeah,
loved it.
it was great. It's
I
fun
think
football.
I think this is the second greatest playoff game ever in the playoff history of college football. Number one will always be Georgia and Oklahoma. It will always be that game in my view because that was awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we've had a string of great games. I think that, if you look at everything played since like 2022, you had TCU, Michigan,
that's
Georgia, Ohio State. They were both classics.
Yeah.
Then the next year, you've got 2023 to a lesser degree. Texas, Washington came down to the last play of the game. Michigan, Bama was an overtime game. Then last year, you had Ohio State, Texas came down to a play at the 1 yard line where Texas could have tied the game with about 4 minutes left. And you had the Notre Dame Penn State game go to overtime. We've had a run of 4 consecutive years of this.
Yes.
But this might have been the best one.
Yeah. Now what? Now Miami should be taken more seriously. And I apologize to Miami. This is great, man.
I'm apologizing to them.
I got to, man. I didn't think they would make it this far. I didn't think they should make the playoffs because I thought Notre Dame would be better. Yeah. Now they proved they could even beat Miami. I apologize. They could even beat Notre Dame again if they ever faced in the playoffs. They would. They showed they look like they're the better team. They have done it.
Well, we don't know that, but I got your point. Yeah.
But my goodness, I'm like, who would have thought Miami will really, change the script? But we all knew that the regular season is different than the playoffs. It's basically a clean slate, and they have really proved themselves. I think they can win the championship, Mark. I don't care if they face Indiana. Now, they face Oregon, they're going to win the championship. Now it makes me want to think, I want to pull for Miami over Indiana now. This is a great story. Both two good teams, but good stories.
Definitely, Trey. Definitely. Well, we appreciate you stopping by, man.
All right. Thank you.
Keep calling in, and we'll catch you soon.
All right. Thank you. God bless everybody.
We appreciate Trey, and we've got David chiming in. David, thank you so much for the contribution. Appreciate that. David, reminding everyone, shop Amazon. That's not the key part of that. Use the Amazon link. So otherwise, I could care less if you shop on Amazon. Use the link in the description section of this video and all the videos. When you shop on Amazon, use the link that we provide. Thank you, David. Appreciate you. All right, next up on the Voice of College Football, welcome in. We got Muley on the line.
Hey, Mark. How's it going?
Good. What's going on?
Nothing. I do think that was a great game. A really great game. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, it's kind of crazy for one, given how Miami dominated the time of possession and how dominant they were on both sides of the line, how close the game was. Before I get into some of the details, do you feel like that this game wasn't as close as the final score came out to be?
I think it was, but I don't think it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
Miami had the opportunity in the first quarter to really separate themselves, and they failed to do so. They were clearly the better team. Ole Miss couldn't do anything the first few times they had the ball. Miami could run at will. I thought that, and this is not a knock against Carson Beck. So many times with Carson Beck in particular this year, and with other quarterbacks, the thought process is, well, we're running the ball well, plus we want to hide this guy. We don't want him to make a mistake. So this is not a knock on Carson Beck. He played an excellent game. But I don't know why they got away from running the football during certain stretches of this game. They would just pound 7, 11, 4, 12. They're not being stopped, and suddenly then they're dropping back to pass and getting sacked. Or, there's a couple pass breakups, or the play in which they threw the interception. I think it was 3rd and 7. They're in the red zone. They throw the deflected interception. And I'm thinking, this is not a normal 3rd and 7 situation. I'm running the ball again, because then it's probably 4th and 2. And I'm running the ball again because they were never stopped. I bet if we went through the third and fourth down plays for Miami inside of 3 yards, they weren't stopped. They just mauled Ole Miss up front. And yeah, I can definitely see why you didn't think it was much of it. But that time of possession kind of plays into the styles of the two teams. Even in a close game, it wouldn't have surprised me that Miami was going to be up 2-1 because they're going to drive the ball for 12 and 13 and 14 plays. Ole Miss did that once, but otherwise they're going to hit you. Well, they're going to hit a lot of teams for like 3 and 4 plays, like a Tulane for a touchdown. Now Miami's too good for that. But Ole Miss is still going to have a 6 or 7 play drive where Miami's going to have a 12 or 13 or 14 play drive. And then on top of that, Ole Miss is going to not huddle during their drive. So the time of possession doesn't really surprise me.
Right. I mean, it goes back to the coaching philosophies. I did expect Miami to want to play more of a grind out game for sure. It's just that kind of discrepancy in time of possession was quite alarming. And regarding how close the game felt, like I think that depends on perspective. Because from the one hand, you can mention that Miami had a few interceptions that they dropped.
Yes,
that they could have definitely hauled in, but at the same time, Ole Miss, despite not having the ball for most of the time, they still made plays when it mattered. They hit some field. I mean, they had 2 goals get doinked from a guy who is one of the best kickers. So
one made it.
What? One of them he made. Yeah. 2 doinked, 1 made. Right.
Yeah.
And there could if he made both of them on the 35-yard line, they could have won again and kicked another one. So my only point is
that's a good point.
Right.
That's a great point.
Right. So my only point is sometimes because I'll see it's more just a greater overarching thing where sometimes a game might feel more disproportionate than what it actually is, or just how do I say? Basically, how some just you know what I'm saying. Sorry, I'm messing
with
up.
you.
Yeah. So yeah, I will also mention what really also separated this game was Miami third down conversions, and I knew, especially in the first couple games when they wanted to get in third and short, but they had quite a few third and longs that they converted. I think the biggest one that really costed them was the 3rd and 7 earlier in the game. They threw a screen to Tony, and then forgetting Perkins from Ole Miss, had him. He had the guy, but Tony was able to jump out, and then the secondary defender missed him. There was also the 3rd and 10 on the last drive. I think that was the difference maker. And then on the final drive when Miami got on plus territory, Ole Miss stopped bringing pressure. They were only rushing 3-4 guys, and I thought that was a really interesting play call. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I wasn't necessarily a big fan of Ole Miss's defensive approach on the final drive because there was just too much time left. My first surprise was that Miami just didn't try to run the ball. I would have thought that they would have tried to run the ball. They had 3:13 on the clock and they had all 3 timeouts. And I thought, well, they're just going to maul it down the field. Sure, they'll have to throw unless they break some 25-yard runs. They'll probably have to throw at some point, but I thought that they would try to run the ball, but they came out shotgun, boom, throwing the ball. And they got into a couple 3rd and long situations, and Beck pulled them out of it. But like you, this business with that much time on the clock of rushing 3 and just sitting back in this coverage, umbrella coverage, I was not a fan of. Because shoot, if Miami hits a big play and they score a touchdown, so be it. Put the ball back in Chambliss's hands with 2.5 minutes left or 1.5 minutes left and let him throw it. I would have rather gone that route than getting eaten alive for 3 minutes.
Right. Like just letting them
Yeah, not letting them score, but challenging them and saying, we're either going to stop you because we're going to rush the passer, we're going to play tight coverage, or you're going to break one. And if you score with a minute left or 2 minutes left, so be it. We'll take the ball last and put it on our best player and our best side of the football.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That they let Carson Beck sit back. Like literally on the last play, he was just sitting back, just scanning the field before he just ran it in. And there were also a few plays where because the whole game, Carson Beck was able to get some yards on his feet or whatnot. There were a few plays where when they would spy him, the Miami offensive line would climb up and then pick up the spy, who was like who on some plays were like the middle linebacker or whatnot. They would climb up, pick him up, so then Carson Beck's like, oh, the spy's picked up. I can just run it now. So, yeah. But anyways, that's all I had for you, Mark. In final, I do think it was a fairly close game. I mean, Miami had a 50-yard advantage, even if it didn't feel like it. But, yeah, go Canes.
Thanks, Muley. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think there was any question that Miami played the better first half. They were the dominant team, but Ole Miss found a way with the long run and with some other missed opportunities by the Canes to stay in the game. And then the second half was just a free-for-all. It was pretty much even. I am going to go slightly out of order because we got our guy TF stopping by. And congratulations, TF, on the big Miami win.
What's up? I got something for you here, Mark. Can you hear that right there?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of such songs, as you might imagine.
Oh man,
you know all the like sounding music that I play here on my channel.
Oh yeah, you know that. It won't get you copyrighted. I played it on your other one a million times.
Well, no,
I wouldn't do that to you, brother.
Too concerned about that.
How about them Canes, man? We coming back. I told you I'd call back in. Yeah, that was the Ohio State Miami game was absolutely awesome. Great game. But a big shout out there to the Ole Miss fans and all that. I think Lane Kiffin is the biggest loser of the night. I think of anybody out there, Lane Kiffin is the biggest loser of the night.
Yeah, I get that. And that's an easy theme to take. And I again, totally get it. I don't know that this is the place to kind of argue the football calendar and what a coach is supposed to do when he goes to another job. But I might be the one guy on the planet that's somewhat sympathetic. Not sympathetic, that would be the wrong understanding of Lane Kiffin's situation. I don't know how you take another job in college football and not leave your current team. I just don't know how you do that.
Right, money talks, and I think that's where they need to fix the whole thing with
yes.
Like, okay, so the transfer portal shouldn't start until the college football season is over. I know that we've jumped into this whole new thing now. The season's being extended, the transfer portal starts. You know, they need their coach there to do that. So yeah, a million things need to be fixed. But big shout out there to the Ole Miss fans and the Ole Miss. I mean, that was a great game. I have to say, that was one of the best second halves of football that I have watched in a long time.
It was phenomenal. Just, styles make fights. And, of course, Miami, the more physical team, Ole Miss, the more finesse team. Great plays by great athletes, just continuously, great effort. Both teams just laid it on the line, left it all out there. And Ole Miss even gave it a shot with 18 seconds left and 75 yards to go.
No, I'm not going to lie. As a Miami fan, okay, so we're at the end of the Fiesta Bowl, okay, and we're sitting there watching the end of the Fiesta Bowl, and there's Miami winning, okay, and we're sitting there about to move on. I know it's not the Natty. Here comes this pass coming in. And it's bumbled, maybe a little bit of, bumping there at the end. I was waiting for that flag, as a Miami fan, flashing back to Fiesta Bowls with Ohio State back in the day. I'm like, oh my God, here we are about to win the Fiesta Bowl again. And I was waiting for that flag. And after I was like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi State. And It didn't happen. I didn't see that flag. I was like, oh my God, yes, 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 yes.
And you had
That
to
was
wait a few
absolutely
seconds
amazing.
after the play was over to make sure the flag wasn't thrown.
Well, I was waiting on that
You
late
know,
one. You know how as an Ohio State fan, I know you love you love late flags coming in, in Fiesta Bowls. So
as long as it's the correct flag and the correct call, sure. Late call, correct call, those aren't necessarily
all
the
right,
same
yeah,
thing.
tomato, 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 tomato.
Two different things. Late call, incorrect call, not the same
Right,
thing.
right, right. I didn't like the targeting call. I'm tired of these targeting calls. I mean, if a defensive player is already, they need to get that down too. Like if a defensive player is already into a motion of a tackle, and the person they are tackling changed, you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
they need to, powder puff football. We don't want any of that. I'm tired of that kind of stuff. Whether anybody's team, I don't like that anymore. But I won't hold you up. I just wanted to jump on here. I always love supporting what you do over here. Yeah,
TF, you were not
I love you,
holding me
Mark.
up. As soon as I saw your name pop up, I got done with the previous call and cut right to you. This is your night.
Well, no, man, I know. It's absolutely wonderful. It's so weird. I have forgotten how it feels like to be how it feels. It's been 20 something years, that I've sat back here and watched this team be miserable, and we haven't won a bowl game in forever, and we have now won 3 this year. So it's
Yeah,
quite amazing.
absolutely. It is. It is. It is. Congratulations.
Yeah, so what you look at X, you look at Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it, and you see these people they're already bitching about. Yeah, it's like Miami's not hitting the portal good enough. Miami's not, and it's like, wait a minute, we're playing in the playoffs, and that's why
Yes.
this whole thing needs to be, the scheduling needs to be fixed. But you know, it'll be good.
Yeah, disadvantage to the teams that are still playing because oh yeah, that's why we acquire the players actually to actually play in the games and compete for championships.
Right.
And then you got fans that are more consumed with recruiting and transfer portals and no, all of that concerning college football is grating on my nerves most of the time. Sometimes I think it's interesting. Most of the time it grates on my nerves, but when I turn on a game like this, it reminds me why I love college football.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was watching the game I was the only Miami fan sitting there watching the game, with a group of people, but everybody else, I mean, they were like, "Oh my God, this is like one of the best." I mean, that second half of football,
Yeah.
that was absolutely amazing. Both teams, played their hearts out, and yeah, like I said, big shout out there to those players at Ole Miss because that what they've had to go through with the lack of coaching staff, the lack of all that stuff going on. That I mean, that was anybody's ball game, and I'm just glad we came out on top. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a cold still, so I might be a little bit like rah rah rah. But yeah, man. So I don't want to take up your show. I know you got a bunch more callers. I do appreciate you bumping me up there in the list. But yeah, I look forward to that Monday night. I wish they would change it to Saturday. How do we make that happen? How do we like petition as Americans and say, can we make that game on Saturday night?
It's college football Saturday. It just kind of makes sense. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't know what needs to be done. Um, if it was something else, I would say shut off the TV and don't go to the game because the fans obviously run the sport ultimately. They could if they wanted to, but obviously you want to watch the game. So you don't want to prove a point there. I don't know what we could possibly do to get these game times changed and especially this national championship Monday night situation.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Yeah, they don't do anything we ever want. We are just their servants. So that's where we're at. But Mark, big support. Make sure everybody out there hits that thumbs up button. And Mark, love you, brother. Go Canes. All right.
Thanks, TF.
All right.
Congratulations, man. Good to hear from you.
All right. See you later, buddy. See y'all later.
Somebody actually in the chat might be able to fill me in on this one because I have lost track of the NFL playoffs. Actually, that Steelers-Ravens game on Sunday night, I sat and watched that entire game, and it hit me at the end of that game. This has mesmerized me, this game. I have watched every play of this game, and I've not watched every play of an NFL game probably in 7 or 8 years. And I sat there, not a Super Bowl even, sat there and watched every play, and I was hooked. And it was a great game, obviously. But since TF brings up the national championship game being played on a Monday, is that divisional playoff weekend? That's probably why the college football championship game's on a Monday, because they don't want to run that thing into an NFL game. Because even though it's in the national championship game, it's going to get completely crushed by an NFL playoff game. If that's the case, I will look that up as we take our next call. Michael, what's going on tonight?
Not much, Mark. What a game tonight, man.
Phenomenal.
I would like to see tomorrow night's game be that good, but I don't know. I think maybe be a 10 to 13 point win for Indiana. I could be wrong, though. Hey, my question is, if Carson Beck gets this done, he will make history on January 19th.
Okay, fill me in.
First person to win multiple national championships at 2 different schools.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, because when he at Georgia.
Well, I know he is at Georgia, but we know that nobody has won national championships at multiple schools.
No, I mean at 2 different schools. Is what I'm saying.
I know it's 2 different schools. We know that's never happened.
That I know of. I mean, unless I could be wrong, but I'm just saying since
you understand he was not the starting quarterback at Georgia.
No, he wasn't.
No, he was just on the team. Okay.
Yeah. But in there, and I was reading it somewhere, I heard it the other day, somewhere, they're in there when they're from someone from Ohio State that was on there last year, that's with Indiana this year.
Yeah, they've got an offensive lineman. Zen Mahalik is their offensive lineman that's on both teams. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're probably right. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying that we have had transfers in the past. So maybe there's some kind of quarterback situation, but you're probably right.
Yeah. And being a de facto home game for Miami, I wonder what the crowd's going to be like on the 19th.
Oh, boy. I would think that Miami is a bit of an advantage. I don't know that I like this situation with a team having that kind of an advantage, but who would have thought that Miami would be playing for a national championship at home?
Sure. I say that because don't they not normally not give very many fans there at Hard Rock?
Exactly. They have horrendous attendance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would never.
So the national championship game's on Monday the 19th, correct?
Yes.
This is exactly the reason why they're not playing on Saturday, that they play on Monday.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the NFL schedule right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's an AFC and or NFC divisional round game at 8:15 that night.
Yep.
They're not going up against that.
No.
Okay. That's the reason.
This one or stuff like that. All right, I gotta ask you, just put on your coach's hat. What does Dane Lanning got to do tomorrow to stop Mendoza and IU?
Well, I think the first thing that Dan Lanning and his staff need to do, and that comes down to Will Stein in particular, but also the offensive line coach, is that ever since they got drubbed by Indiana's front 7, especially front 4, trying to figure out, okay, is our offensive line as bad as it looked in that particular game, or can we coach them up in the next couple months to prepare for a playoff run, or do we need to call a game plan differently, because they can't give up 7 sacks again against Dante Moore. So that would be my biggest concern, and that would be the biggest change I would make if I was Oregon.
Mm-hmm. And in your opinion, yeah, I know you take the pick 6 away, it's a 30-13 win. But do you think Indiana had more team control that when they played?
Oh, I think they had game control. Yeah. they didn't salt it away or rout them, but considering it was at Oregon, and like you say, you can't take away a pick six, but it's the reason it's brought up is because there's a difference between dominating a team for 12 or 15 consecutive plays, driving the ball down the field, play after play after play, versus just boom, one bad mistake, pick six, comes back the other way. It obviously counts the same, but it doesn't show dominance.
Yeah.
And that's why Indiana was obviously, or I'm sorry, Oregon able to stay in the game. Indiana was clearly the better team on that day, but I don't know that Indiana dominance is not being a little overstated, considering nail biter against Ohio State, nail biter against Penn State, and nail biter against Iowa.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I was just wondering stuff like that. But with the two players, I'm trying to think, is one's the running back and one's the other, one's a defensive back. They both committed to portal earlier this week, wasn't it? For Oregon?
For Indiana?
No, for Oregon.
We're talking about starting players?
Yeah.
Well, Kevin Casper, I'm trying to think where I believe he's in the portal, Kevin Casper. Yeah, I have done no work on the portal. So aside from the big names that have hit the portal, I really can't help you out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no bad. I didn't know if you had a guy from Oregon for the voice of college football on to find out about that. But I got to ask you this. So I don't know. I mean, I could, like I said, I think it'd be a 10 to 13 point win. But if Indiana gets out to start like they did against Alabama last week, is it going to be Katie bar the door?
Well, my first initial reaction would be that I don't think Oregon can lose a game like that, but I guess they did against Ohio State last year in the Rose Bowl. And Indiana is certainly capable of it. But also remember that Alabama game was no score after the first quarter. So it's not like they came out of the chutes and destroyed them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Oregon's going to show up. It doesn't seem like everybody I talked to is giving Oregon no chance to win this game.
All about saying they can't win.
They just shut out Texas Tech.
Yeah, they did. And what was it? Yeah, have you ever seen a team in the first half have the ball for less than 10 minutes? Like they did tonight. Or Miami just controlled the first half.
I'm guessing that I have. I've watched a lot of football, so.
I've never seen it to where they've had under 10 minutes of possession. And it still be a 4-point, and it still be a close game.
Well, that's what happens when you hold one team to field goals and you hit a 75-yard touchdown run.
That is true. And not having Lacey, I think, even though he did end up with 100 and change.
Yeah.
I think that might have took out of him and stuff like that with the hamstring. But
yeah, that absolutely hurt them. He didn't carry the ball from that touchdown run until the first drive of the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm. Not bad. All right, sir. That's all I got. I will see you in about 21 hours or 22 hours.
Sounds good. Thank you, Michael.
Right. Well, no, you're not doing the show tomorrow yet. You said you weren't doing the show.
I'm sorry, what's that?
You said you weren't doing the show tomorrow.
Yeah, we got Matt Zemek filling in tomorrow.
Sounds good. All right, Mark. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right. We do appreciate everyone being here at the Voice of College Football. This is what we do. We show up post-game throughout the regular season, throughout the playoffs, and here we are after a Miami win against Ole Miss in one of the great college football playoff games in its brief history, 31-27 down to the wire. Let's get to these super chats. Again, we appreciate David reminding everyone, when you shop on Amazon, please use the link that we provide. It helps us grow and build the channel. Gixxer Squid. Carson Beck was the 5th highest NIL quarterback. Miami was tied for 5th overall. It's a pay-to-play world. Curious what the college football playoff bracket would look like based on NIL. Well, we know that at least the teams that were given a lot of pub about their NIL spending would be Ohio State last year, and I'm sure Ohio State this year, Texas Tech, of course, and Miami. Ole Miss has certainly spent money on its football team as well. They all have, but I don't know what those numbers look like. I'm guessing that there's somebody out there or some website that is at least taking a shot based on some pieced together info, because nobody really has all of that info. It's not public knowledge, but that they have pieced together intel that they have to give some kind of framework to who's spending the most money. But I don't know who that is. Obviously, Texas Tech, again, has been talked about all season. Miami, who else comes to mind? I'm sure some of you would bring up some teams that are rumored to have spent the most money. But those are the two teams. I'm sure we would not be surprised by that list. All right, we've got also Jackson showing up. Oh, look at this. Thank you for that, Jackson. Yes, January 8th is also a date remembered for the birthday of Elvis Presley, the 5th anniversary of Alex Trebek's last day on Jeopardy. So that would have been in 2021. Interesting. The 17th anniversary of the Florida-Ohio State. Wait a minute. The Florida-Oklahoma. I'm sorry. The Florida-Oklahoma 24-14 Gators win in the BCS championship game of 2009-2008 season. Let's get the voice of college football to 100,000 subs. Yes, let's do that. Thank you, Jackson. Appreciate you being here, man. You can catch Jackson and the crew over on the Alabama show on Monday night, Tuesday and Thursday. I believe we've got Monday and Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 Central. Then we've got Thursdays, the big call-in show, 10 Eastern, 9 Central. All right, Keith stopping by to talk some college football. Keith, what's going on?
Hey, Mark, great game, instant classic. These playoffs are looking pretty good, except for those two group of 5 games.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. For the most part, we did have Indiana destroy Alabama and Oregon, Texas Tech, but no playoff tournament that's more than a few games is going to deliver classics across the board. But Georgia, Ole Miss, excellent game. Miami, Ohio State was a decent game, and of course, this was arguably the best college football playoff game we've had.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that Alabama Indiana game is that was the 5th highest viewed Rose Bowl of all time.
That astounds me.
Yeah, so it's I think Indiana's the underdog story is really attracting a lot of viewers, and it's boosting ratings. Even a blowout game like that did very, very well in the numbers.
Yeah, who in the world's watching that game in the fourth quarter? And you would think that that would really severely hurt the rating, as opposed to a lot of games that have decent viewership, but then they become classics, have some, and I remember, and this could be stated about a lot of different classic games. I'm sure it could be stated about your Rose Bowl win against Alabama a couple of years ago, where the numbers just peaked throughout the night as the game got closer and closer and was more dramatic. Same thing with Ohio State and Miami in the Fiesta Bowl national championship game. The rating in overtime, like late fourth quarter overtime, was some ridiculous number, like a Super Bowl number. But you would think that, can you imagine if that would have been a close game, what the number would have been? I'm astounded by that. And a personal note there, Keith, is that's the first Rose Bowl that I have not watched in my lifetime.
That's amazing. I don't know what happened to you that weekend, but
yeah, I had better
not
things
much
to do.
like you.
I was enjoying myself. I had better things to do. But yeah, I did not watch the Rose Bowl, and it's the first time since I was like 8 years old. I did not watch the Rose Bowl, and I didn't miss much.
Funny. Let me get you on a light point here. In 22. Kyle Whittington took his Utah team, I think it was to the Rose Bowl, and beat Southern Cal to put Ohio State in the playoffs. Remember?
You mean the Pac-12 championship game?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. And Kyle Whittingham got lifetime eat free in Columbus card after that game.
Well, he really would have had Ohio State beaten Georgia and marched on to a national championship win.
Yeah, but they had Kyle Whittingham on it, but they were joking with him that he had this eat free in Columbus.
Oh, okay.
Lifetime card.
Who was this that had him on?
I think it was a CBS Sports or NBC Sports or somebody, one of the big national guys.
Okay.
It was just a fun interview, but he laughed it off. But the question is, the not serious question is that card revoked now?
Well, I would hope so. It should be revoked. Absolutely.
Okay, so you say Ohio State Nation is a bunch of Indian givers?
You're going to have to be. That's just one of those things that you can't anticipate at the time. But that's when all integrity and values go out the door. You in no way can fulfill that any longer. I want to get your take, first of all, on Kyle Whittingham as a coach, whether you are pleased with him being named the, I believe, 22nd head coach in the history of Michigan football. And number two, have you caught any of his, well, of course you caught that interview, but I caught his introductory press conference and then also showing up at the bowl game on ABC. And I was interested in some of the comments that he had to make when he was asked about the rivalry.
Yeah, he said the right things.
Did he?
Yeah, he said, like, I am now. I do now. He says, do you hate Ohio State? He laughed off and said, I do now. So
to me, he seemed very non-committal.
I agree. I think it was on the lighter side. A true blue Michigan man would say, absolutely, who doesn't?
Yeah, he's not been indoctrinated, and that's fine, just so he wins games. And I'm guessing I shouldn't even speak as a Michigan fan or take your place, but I just found it a little bit amusing. Number one, that he brought up Urban Meyer. He wasn't asked about Urban Meyer. He said he very early in the news conference, he brings up Urban Meyer and then says, that must be a 4-letter word around here. And then he says, but he basically just let everyone know, this is a guy I worked with. I'm still really close to him. I consider him a mentor. Also said that he encouraged me to take the job. And then when asked about, whether, I forget what was the exact phrasing of the question about whether he hates Ohio State, or I forget how it was phrased. And then he's like, yeah, well, I guess I do now.
Yeah, right.
I just think he's, again, if Michigan is anything like Ohio State, he's going to be indoctrinated and told, kind of this is the way you need to approach these kind of questions. But yeah, he's kind of above that and going to be focused on building a football program and doing the right things and making sure that they're ready to go for game one, not the last game of the season only.
Yeah, and your idea of the funny nature of relationships and agreements and in his relationship with Urban Meyer is very unique in the Michigan community. And it's just funny that he's had this long-standing friendship with Urban Meyer. And one source even said, I don't know if I believe this or not, I think this might be Hollywoodizing college football, but said Urban Meyer was the one that talked him into taking the job. Like there was anybody that would need to talk him into taking it. But somebody said Urban talked him into it.
I thought I might be wrong. I thought that he said that Urban recommended or suggested or thought that he should take it but not that he was the deciding factor. I thought he did. I might be wrong.
Right. And I thought like you did, but I heard one source go as far as to say that Urban Meyer was the one that talked him into it. I
think people are stirring the pot and
yeah,
reading into things just to sensationalize things.
And trying to get hits,
Yes.
Yeah.
I should do a better job at that.
Yeah. Yep. I remember every time you talked about conference reorganization, your numbers would go through the roof.
Well, yeah.
And you get back to regular issues and they go back down to earth. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to crank out videos that were doing 30 and 40 and 50,000 views talking about conference realignment about 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember. Oh, you know what? January 8th is also the day of. I know it's the 9th now, but January 8th is the 2-year anniversary of Michigan's Natty.
It was won on January 8th?
That's what somebody said today.
Okay, you know what? Yeah, because that was in the 14 playoff. Yeah, it would have been played that early. That makes sense.
That does make sense, doesn't it? But somebody else said it, and usually these sources I hear are right. Every once in a while, they're dead wrong, but 90% of the time they're right. Yeah. The last thing I want to say is the elephant in the room. I haven't heard anybody say yet, but the Schedule Easy and Cry conference is not in the championship game again.
Did you make that up?
I made that up. Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. But Ole Miss was a good team. They're an elite team. They played an elite team, and that Miami, boy, what a run they're having. Their run is matching what Ohio State did last year.
Well, let's see: Texas A&M, Ohio State, Ole Miss, and whoever they got to play in the championship game. Yeah. I said it at the time, even though I stuck my chest out, that Ohio State made the greatest run in the history of college football. Well, that's just because they were the first one to play in this format.
Right.
Yeah, all of these runs these teams are going to have to make, especially if they have to play 4 games and they don't get a bye, are going to be crazy. We'll have to see the way the national rankings play out at the end, but Ohio State they obviously finished number 1. They beat number 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 10 in the final rankings. And Miami's going to pretty much do the same thing.
Yeah. So that's good. But yeah, this is 3rd year in a row that the SEC is not in the conference title.
You are right.
In the Natty game. Yeah. So
yes, sir.
Also some people say, or some caller yesterday said, there's no villain left in these playoffs. Now, I say anytime an SEC team is in there, you've got a built-in villain, because all the other conferences do not like the SEC. The ACC hates the SEC. So as long as there's an SEC team in there, you have a villain.
So did you just kind of pick this up, or did you see this on a poll or something that
no, that's what
the SEC?
That's what our friend DeReal said yesterday, that there's no villain left in the playoffs.
Yes, that's what he said. But I'm talking about your evaluation that everybody hates the SEC.
Yes, I think we all dislike the SEC. That we're just tired of their antics. They were good when they were the only conference that was paying their players on a high level, and now that paying players has been very much equalized, there's still some legacy infrastructure in the SEC that allows them to recruit a little better than everybody else, but you see the advantage declining year to year.
Yeah, well, I can't argue with that. I don't necessarily know that is the case, but I can't argue you've got evidence on your side. I would say that I don't know that there was no one in captivity that was paying any players except for SEC schools. I think that's a bit overblown. I know it's overblown. And then also to consider that, going back to the days post desegregation, that when it was wide open for anyone to recruit anyone, well, obviously the Southeast produces the most football players. So they're generally going to stay at home. Therefore, they're going to play for SEC schools. So they have a built-in advantage. Regardless of anybody paying players or coercing players to come to their schools in any such way, that naturally, if players just stay home, then the SEC is going to be better than everyone else.
Sure, but Ohio State and Michigan have been for decades recruiting skilled players, receivers, and running backs out of Florida.
Sure.
To very much success. So there are players that are willing to move, and sometimes it's money. And what I'm saying is in scale. My source that proved this. Now I heard rumors of this all the while, but there was Club Shay Shay. Johnny Manziel was on there, and it was he was on there for 2 parts. It was like two or maybe even 3 hours of Johnny Manziel on there, and he talked about the SEC bagmen and how he negotiated a bag at Texas A&M, but he could only get a couple million out of them. And he told Tennessee that he told a bagman from Tennessee that he'd go to Tennessee for 2 years for 10 million. So he confirmed what we all heard rumors of the time, is that there was all kinds of money that was floating around the SEC, and that wasn't, every player played teams, but most teams were playing 2 or 3 players, whereas SEC was paying 20 to 30 players.
Okay. All right. I'm glad you said that at the end, and that might be, and I'm guessing that that's even a little bit overblown, but at least you came back a little bit, because I was going to say, Keith, let's think about this for a second, that the SEC schools prior to NIL were paying players. And then schools like Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Penn State, USC are not paying players, but they're able to be just as good and occasionally better than SEC teams. Are you serious that Ohio State's going to have a player the caliber of Ezekiel Elliott and him make 0? And at the same time, Alabama's got Derrick Henry and they're paying him hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, then Ohio State and Michigan's football programs would have gone into the tank. There's no way that they're going to draw any football players if they're paying them 0 and these other guys are getting 100, 200 grand to play at Alabama and Georgia.
No, and that's my point. All the big names were getting paid. Even Alan Branch, Charles Woodson, Desmond Howard. All the big names, they were getting paid.
Yes.
Ohio State, Earl Bruce, when he took the job at Ohio State, he went down and sat and he talked to Bear Bryant. Remember? He had a meeting with Bear Bryant.
Yes.
And he came back. And since then, if you look, Ohio State got as many 5-star players as much as the rest of the Big Ten, which were about 11 other teams. I think there were 12 teams in the Big Ten back then, but as much as the rest of us put together.
Yes.
So Ohio State learned how to copy the infrastructure you needed to attract these big name players, which is basically pay them on an industrial scale rather than a retail scale. So that's why Ohio State has always been more competitive with the SEC than the rest of the Big Ten.
You may or may not be correct on that. I cannot debate that in any such way.
Yeah, you might not have sources to confirm that, but I've heard stories about it, and I've had a few instances, and a lot of it's conjecture, I admit. I don't have firsthand knowledge. I do have firsthand knowledge. I do have firsthand evidence that SEC was paying at industrial scale. And I know Michigan, Illinois, Penn State weren't paying at that industrial level.
All right, Keith. I don't know that on this night of a national semifinal, and then with the other one being played tomorrow night, that anybody wants us to drone on about the 1980s and which players got paid. So I do appreciate you calling.
Yep, good. That its playoffs are good. I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow too.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Keith.
All right. Always good talk to you.
Absolutely. Appreciate Keith calling. And the All Big Ten final, semifinal at least, of course, Oregon, a 3.5-point favorite. And against, Indiana, a 3.5-point favorite against Oregon. You're watching the college football show here at the Voice of College Football. It's our late night edition presented by our friends at FanDuel. And there you will see all the odds as they stack up. And Ole Miss going into this Final Four matchup did have the longest odds. And they were not able to quite buck those odds to put themselves into a national championship game and try to win one for the first time since roughly 1961, 62. All right. We got the real MVP showing up tonight.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
I am doing just fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. That was one of the best games of football I've seen this entire season.
I mean, agree.
Just an unbelievable game. Chambliss, the quarterback for Ole Miss, he's going to enter the next season as the best quarterback in all of football and probably the Heisman frontrunner. I mean, that kid, what he did with, like we said yesterday, Miami's defensive line just getting after him and him still being as productive as he was, unbelievable. Unbelievable that even Ole Miss was in the game. The mark at halftime, did it feel like a 24-point game? Because that's what it felt like to me. Miami felt like they dominated everything you could possibly dominate in a college football game except the scoreboard.
For sure. I don't know, based on our buddy Beard God Keel, I don't know why I'm showing myself to be salty about the Canes. I've said congratulations about 14 times and given them their just due. I don't know what that means. But anyway, that's fine. Yeah, Miami. I picked Miami to win by double digits. Me, the Miami hater, picked Miami to win by double digits. Me, the Miami hater that always picks them to win 2 or 3 more games and they end up winning that particular season. I thought that they were going to physically dominate the game. So what we saw on the field, especially in the first half, that's what I envisioned. But I envisioned it to end at like 31-20 Miami with a somewhat entertaining, but almost never really right there kind of game, distancing themselves, wearing down the Ole Miss front defensively that's undersized, beating them to a pulp in the fourth quarter. Well, they did some of that, but they did most of that in the first quarter, in the second quarter. But yeah, Miami should have been walking off that. Like, on one hand, I can't go through the first half and say, well, Miami, it's not like they fumbled at the 12-yard line and then they threw a pick in the end zone. And they wasn't like there were these obvious plays where, oh, they blew a scoring opportunity. They blew another one. But they just dominated the line of scrimmage the entire
They were just the better
half,
team.
and they were the better team by far. And yeah, they're only up 17-13. Now, the second half, at least from my vantage point, the teams played like dead even.
Right. But I think that first half tells us why Miami probably isn't going to win the national championship.
Is not. Okay.
It's because they shoot themselves in the foot too much and make too many bad decisions. Whether it's Mario Cristobal clock management that Nick Saban, the greatest of all time, pointed out at halftime, whether it's their dumb penalties, whether it's the defense of the safeties dropping every single ball you can imagine, whether it's the false start, the offsides penalties, Miami, if they play Indiana, especially, will find a way to lose because that is Miami this year. At their best, the Ohio State game, they can beat Indiana. They absolutely have the better players, the better talent, and if they had the consistency, they would win that game. They don't, however, and that's why they will lose to Indiana when they play in the national championship game. So it's crazy to think, Mark, that also we all like to go to the quarterback, the skill position rooms, the wide receivers, the safeties, the defensive backs, but easily the best unit in all of football, Miami's offensive and defensive line, have basically carried them throughout these playoffs. And they've been so overwhelming to everyone else that the quarterback, the wide receivers haven't had time to make good connection, and they've just completely shut down all three offenses that they've played so far. I'm very impressed with Miami.
Well, of course, I'm impressed by them as well. But the one thing that they were not able to do tonight that they did against Ohio State, and a lesser degree Texas A&M, basically Marcel Reed couldn't hit the broadside of a barn for most of that game, is that I think it was a combination of Ole Miss understanding, okay, this team is going to destroy us. They are going to basically wreck our offense if we don't do something. So I think that the offensive line played well for Ole Miss, but I also think that Ole Miss was very intentional about calling plays that would move Chambliss around a little bit, not necessarily just like pure rollouts, but they did things to protect him and get the ball out of his hands. And again, the offensive line in pass pro was really good for Ole Miss, and we saw far less pressure on the quarterback than we did against the other two teams.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's weird to say, but Ohio State has looked by far the worst against Miami than the other two SEC teams. But for tomorrow's game, Mark, since there is a game tomorrow between Indiana and Oregon, is there any chance outside of something spectacular happen, Oregon's going to win? Because I'm not sure if you watched the halftime with the College Game Day.
I did not.
Nick Saban, you can kind of tell that he believes Indiana's clearly the better team, because he would say things like, well, if Oregon's got a chance to win this game, they absolutely have to play their best. It gave me TCU 2022 vibes when they were up against Georgia, and you can just tell that one team is so significantly better than the other that he was analyzing it as if the game had already happened.
Well, he would know. I don't think it's anything close to the mismatch that we saw with Georgia and TCU, just playing on different levels of football. The one thing I will note about Ohio State, and I'll catch some kind of flack for this because I mentioned this in the Miami show, and I'm just stating facts here. And in no way do I think that Miami didn't outplay Ohio State in some facets of the game, dominate them. We're the much better team, decidedly the better team on the field, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For that one particular game, I don't know if they're the better team overall, but that doesn't matter. They were the better team, decidedly. However, once Miami scored its first touchdown, and from the start of the second quarter until the final drive of the game, when Miami iced the game, Ohio State outgained them like 310 to 90.
Yeah, that's crazy considering it never really felt like Ohio State had a chance to win the game. Like just watching it, I didn't feel like Ohio State was ever had a chance to win the game. It felt like Miami was always in control of that game.
Well, I got to say, I watched the game. What is tonight? Thursday. Yeah, I watched the game Wednesday afternoon again, and this is how emotions and such alter us humans, I guess. I put the game on, and I was expecting Ohio State was going to win this time. Like I actually had to like convince myself that this game was already played and Ohio State wasn't going to win. But yeah, Miami was clearly the better team. I just wanted to take note of that.
No, it's fair
That
too.
might surprise some people.
No, it's absolutely fair, but I do think it's pretty inarguable. Texas A&M and Ole Miss were more competitive throughout their games than Ohio State. Not saying Ohio State's a bad team or anything like that. They're clearly one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the country. It's just surprising how bad the bye hurts you in college football in particular. Miami also would be underdogs, Mark, against Oregon. Does that surprise you a bit that Miami would be underdogs against Oregon if they were to meet up?
That does surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at the beginning of the tournament, but now that Miami has made its way through the 3 teams that they have, and not just that they've won these games and been dominant against the team that was supposed to be the best team out of the 3, or the best team in the tournament, actually. They were the odds-on favorite to win. But that they've won with different styles of play. You know, they got into a shootout in the second half of this game, and Carson Beck was up to it. Their receivers made outstanding plays. So they can win in different ways. And so that surprises me that they're not just, they've shown that they're adaptable and that they're still an underdog. I would say that Oregon was more battle tested going into this playoff run, but Oregon has now played James Madison and now Texas Tech, who's clearly not on the tier of the 3 or 4 or 5 teams that we're talking about. And yes, I would say that Miami should be the favorite now against Oregon.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're 2-point underdogs. And the game's at Miami, correct? It's at Coral Gables Stadium or Hard Rock.
Yeah.
So that means they would be 5.5-point underdogs or 5-point underdogs in a neutral site. That's surprising. That tells me Vegas thinks Oregon is clearly the better team. And I don't really see any evidence this entire year Oregon is clearly better than Miami. Do you?
No. And any indication of that is long gone. Meaning the Louisville SMU games, and really Miami didn't slop around with anyone in the ACC other than the 2 losses. It's not like that they had a string of, or even one game that they looked like garbage against the Stanford or Syracuse and had to pull it out. They just trounced everyone in the ACC other than the 2 losses. So they've been playing really good football for now. I think they've won like 7 consecutive games. Where
I think
Oregon down the stretch, they were impressive against USC. But other than that, really nothing of note.
I think most teams at this point in the tournament is going to have very solid resumes and long winning streaks. So I don't really buy the one team can't be hot and the other team can be cold narrative at this point in the season. That's more of a college basketball thing, in my opinion. But Mark, a lot of people in the chat, because, the SEC is an irrelevant conference, and I've seen it all over X, is that the SEC is 10-11 now. They're a bad conference. It's over. The SEC is horrible. They shouldn't play football. That whole thing. Mark, today is January 9th, 12:40 Central Time. Right now, the SEC is still better than the Big Ten based on the results. You might not like it, but they're still better. Because why? A conference, Mark, is composed of more than 3 teams. How many teams does the Big Ten have? Is it more than 3?
18.
Okay. And the SEC, do they have more than 3?
16.
So we should evaluate every single team that plays in the conference to determine which conference is better?
That's the way we should do it, yes.
And do you think it's healthy for the sport that almost every single fan out there only wants to account for teams that make the playoffs or just solely based on bowl game results? Do you think that's healthy for the sport, that we're basically throwing away the regular season?
Well, I don't know if it matters in terms of the health of the sport. It's not a viable practice. It's not valid.
That's even a better question. And also, to go back to the record thing, do you think Oregon beating Oklahoma State is as valid as a result as Indiana beating Alabama?
No.
So do you think people who only look at records or say things like the ACC is 8-6 against the SEC, do you think that has any validity in determining who's better?
Well, I think that that's the starting point. I think anytime we're talking about evaluating football teams or conferences, we can start with a record, and then it needs to be explained from there.
Absolutely. Because if you look, Mark, when you look, the SEC versus ACC, you'll be shocked at how many games the SEC is supposed to win this year based on conference seedings versus how many they actually pulled off quite a few upsets against the ACC, and they didn't have many upsets go against them. The major exception being Alabama, Florida State. But my favorite comment I've seen in your chat tonight was from Gerard Jones saying the SEC is an irrelevant conference. First off, he was typing about the SEC, so I guess he made an irrelevant comment. Second off, the SEC's had the highest rated game every single week, except for two, which is the Ohio State-Michigan game and the first round of the playoffs. So, being the highest rated conference 14 out of the 16 weeks, I would deem that as pretty relevant. Wouldn't you, Mark?
Yeah, and I just think it's a temptation of all of us, some more than others, that if there's something that we dislike, if there's something that we are tired of, that if we have an opportunity, because there has been some kind of compromise to a team, the 90 Chicago Bulls or the New England Patriots or whatever the case might be, of what we're sick of a team being or a entity being dominant in a particular sport, then the frustration comes out in terms of pouncing and then grasping hold of anything to prove a point. And some of that's valid because the SEC is not as dominant, nor is it dominant at all in this sport now versus what it was for 15 years. And, I relate to these Big Ten fans. I'm a Big Ten fan. I don't like to say that because I like to keep a neutral perspective and persona. But to be honest, I sat there when I was 10 years old rooting for every Big Ten team in bowl games, and that carried through for the rest of my life. So I am right there with you folks when it comes to my allegiance to the Big Ten and wanting Big Ten teams to win bowl games and other regular season games. However, I've got to call it the way it is. And right now, if we're simply looking at conferences from the very top to the very bottom, I personally, I think the Real's in a different place to a certain extent. I have to watch the last few games of the season. Well, we're down to 2 games. I've got to see them play out. And I think that the records and the nuance and the context and all that taken into consideration is going to be difficult to separate the two conferences as which one is the best. It's not clear cut in my eyes right now.
It's not as clear cut as like in 2022 when the SEC beat the Pac-12, Big Ten, ACC champion all in the same year with different teams. It's not as that close, but the gap is close significantly. Is the Big Ten clearly the second best conference? Yes. Do they have if you want to look at it and argue saying, well, if you took the Big Ten's 3 best teams against the SEC's 3 best teams, is the Big Ten better? Unquestionably, yes. The Big Ten has the best 3 teams. That's just an irrelevant point. And for everyone saying that the SEC, I've seen this a lot, that the SEC has missed the national championship 3 years in a row, Mark, as if this really matters. I mean, it is a data point, and there's some validity to it. But from the year 2015 to 2022, how many Big Ten teams were in the national championship game, Mark?
0.
So are you telling me from those
1?
They had 1. So for 7 out of the 8 years, the Big Ten was just hot garbage? Is that what they're saying? that the Big Ten was hot garbage for 7 out of the 8 years by this standard?
If they're being consistent.
Well, they're not consistent. We know that because they're haters and homers. But I'm just pointing out their tomfoolery. When you have, like your last caller said, man, the SEC hasn't been in 3 years in a row. So they still can be better top to bottom. I know it's crazy to you, but South Carolina beating Virginia Tech matters in this. Michigan State going to Boston College or having Boston College come to their place and beating them in double overtime when Boston College literally didn't win an ACC game matters in determining who's the better conference. Now, you may not like it, but if you don't like that, guess what? You're basically saying 115 teams shouldn't even be playing the sport. Because if all that matters is the postseason, then almost every team has no chance.
Well, I do have so I agree that every game should count. If we're clearly talking about ranking conferences, then we've got to count every game. I do think that there's an argument between saying every slot from 1 to 16 or 1 to 18 counts the same, and we're going to count let's say Ole Miss would have advanced in the national championship game against, let's say, Indiana, that we're going to give that the same weight as we give the Alabama-Wisconsin game the third week of September. I think that there can be nuance there as well to say we're going to give more validity to the teams that are the best teams in the country, the teams that are nationally relevant. We're going to give that more weight because that's the purpose of playing the sport is to win championships. So we're going to give a little bit more weight to teams that are competing at a high level versus measuring whether Rutgers is better than Mississippi State.
Right. And that does sound logical, but here's my problem with that. That leads to the slippery slope of, well, why don't we weight regular season games? I mean, there's people in this chat, I've seen comments saying, well, the SEC won all those games in September. And, their teams aren't fully developed, aren't fully ready in September. So if we're going to weight these things, we should at least have an official weight. But to me, that's all subjective. Everybody counts the same. Everybody's treated equal. And you have to go based on the results. That's the only thing I'm advocating for. It's kind of crazy people are saying September games don't matter. Because if you think about it now, you think the SEC bias is bad now? Imagine, Mark, if we had no conference games to judge this based off of. How healthy would that be for the sport? How productive of data points will we have if the SEC, the only games that counted was against each other? The Big Ten only counted against each other. We wouldn't get anywhere. You would have 7 or 8 SEC teams in, based on everybody who says SEC biased. So really think about your positions before making a comment.
All right, Daryl, anything else?
No, I think that's all. I'm going to see for the next 365 days that the SEC hasn't won anything in 3 years. But Mark, I have a feeling that streak won't go on forever. Call me crazy, but I think when this season's over, the 3 or 4 favorite teams, 2 of them will at least be from the SEC, whether that's Ole Miss, Georgia, Texas, somebody like that, and then along with Ohio State. Call me crazy and call me unbiased. I think that's generally your group for next year.
All right. We appreciate the real stopping by. And again, after the season is done and the dust settles, we get 2 more games. I'm going to throw it all together and run through all the data. And it's not, again, if you've watched me for a long time, you know that I'm not going to rank the conferences just based on, the SEC went 13-11 and the Big Ten went 8-12 and No, there's a lot that needs to be discussed and debated and explained about the quality of the games and the seeding of the teams. Certainly that has a lot to do with it. Alabama, the 2nd seed in the SEC, defeating Wisconsin, who's the zillionth seed in the Big Ten, is a credit to the SEC, but not much of a credit because Alabama should beat Wisconsin. Case in point, Oregon should beat Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State was basically a high school football team this year. So again, we're going to run through all the numbers of all the conferences, and we're going to try to do our best to give context to it. What makes this more difficult than it's ever been are the bowl games where you got 10 and 12 players sitting out for teams like USC, Missouri, and others. All right. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. We got Burke stopping by.
Hey, Mark, can you hear me?
Hey, Burks. How you doing?
What's up, man?
Much.
Dude, this transfer portal, man, is crazy, dude. I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that somebody posted, I think it was Ralph, our buddy Ralph, posted a comment about how many players have entered the transfer portal at this point. It's like 3,000. It's like 1/3 of all, I think it's like 4,000 something. 1/3 of all players are in the portal.
You know what's actually crazy is how, well, before I start, I just want to say, I want to congratulate you on one of your shows calling out that Michigan fan, saying something really stupid, and you said, don't be a fan, don't be a dumb fan. I really like that, man. How he said, like, Ohio State has never been undefeated. Like, I'm telling you, Mark, those type of people, like, I get embarrassed being a Michigan fan because of these type of people, literally. So I really am glad that you called that guy out.
Maybe we'll print T-shirts and it'll say,
yeah,
be a fan, just don't be a dumb fan.
Yeah, he's not even a moron, Mark. He's a retard. Let's just say that. So, yeah. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. But well, I do want to ask you, how do you like the hire of what was it? Kyle Whittingham? What letter grade you give him?
I would give the hire an A-.
Wow.
I was on Michigan podcast this week with Steve Dace, so he obviously picked my brain about Kyle Whittingham. I would say that even though, based on the feedback that I've seen, that Kalen DeBoer and Kenny Dillingham were those that were the most sought after as hot commodities, that Kyle Whittingham brings more stability. He's a man's man. He's strong. He's stable. I don't know that Kalen DeBoer's offense would work well at Michigan. He obviously had issues running the football this year at Alabama, and how that happens with that kind of talent, I don't know. Kenny Dillingham is obviously one of the up-and-comers in college football, but maybe he's not quite as established as Michigan would want as a known commodity. And so I think Kyle Whittingham could end up being like a 2 to 3 year stopgap, or he could end up coaching for 6-7 years. He's not a young man, but he's a healthy man. There's no question about that.
Yeah, man, I'm just so happy, dude. I crashed out last time on your show, went on a rage mode. And finally, we have a guy with integrity. We have a staff. And I swear to God, we need to get Ward Emanuel the hell out of here, man. I'm telling you, Mark, this guy is like a corrupted politician. You know, like some of the U.S. cities that have like corrupted politicians and they destroy the city. It's happening all over our country. Yeah. This guy is a perfect example of that. I'm telling you, Ryan, he needs to get the hell out. If he's not out, right, I'm telling you right now, if Ward is not fired after this investigation, I'm telling you right now, the devil runs Michigan at this point. Like, he needs to get out, bro. There's no guy who pisses me off more than him. I'm sorry. He has done such a bad job, bro. Like, and people are like, "Oh, he hired like all these guys." Like, he did not hire Harbaugh. He did not hire Dusty. He did not hire some of these best coaches. He needs to get out, man. And I'm just blessed. We have a coach. We have staff. You don't understand how crazy I went, man. Like these past like couple weeks before, you know. So. But
I got to say that I know little about the situation other than obviously I'm observing from afar, and I thought that he would be out of that job by now.
Yeah, he should have been out way before. And then I do want to ask, like, dude, this portal, man, You don't understand what the hell happened, dude. 2 hours back, dude. This was
Yeah.
at nighttime, right? There was a player by the name TJ Metcalf, right?
Yes.
He hit the transfer portal at freaking nighttime. This is ridiculous, Mark. Like, I'm telling you right now, dude, and I'll be honest, I like NFL better than college football right now. And the reason why is this NIL and transfer portal has become a shit show. Like, it's become a clown show at this point. That there really needs to be some like government laws on this stuff. And you know what they need to do too? I don't know if you agree with me on this, but you need to make a contract, right? Like you need to do a contract when you sign these guys. It has to be 2 years or something like that, and you can't get out of it. Kind of like they did with Demond Williams, right? This needs to happen for every damn contract that there is. There has to be. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but
Okay, so here's where I stand on this.
yeah.
Just about any college football fan, as of just a few years ago, hated the word contract because it spoke of professionalism, and that's something that we were trying to separate ourselves from. But we've just arrived at a point where we can't get away from it. It is what it is. The players are being paid. It's no longer an amateur sport. So the game's been corrupted to a degree and infiltrated by money and big business. And that was just inevitable. When this many people love the sport, watch the sport, then money's going to come into the sport. And I've gone through dissertations where I've kind of broken down, starting in the 1950s, the breakdown of college football as being an amateur sport. And people were comfortable with that until players started to get paid. Now, the issue I have is that there is no, contractual agreement that all these guys are free agents anytime they want to be. So I thought that there would be a saving grace in this revenue plan that was announced, let's see, last summer, that came out that said every school is going to have $20.5 million to divide between its sports programs. Obviously, football is going to be the bulk of that. And I thought, okay, this is the opportunity, even though none of us like the word contract connected to collegiate athletes, this is the opportunity to tie these guys down when they leave high school and sign with a university to a 1, 2, 3, or 4-year contract and put some guardrails on this sport. The other portion of the contract that I would include would be that said player is going to play for this football team through the end of the contract year, which is the end of postseason. Therefore, they're going to play in bowl games and complete the season as is scheduled. The schedule includes the bowl game that you're assigned to and that you're invited to. That has always been a part of college football. So these players should be signed to contracts, and they should be signed to contracts that include playing out the entirety of the season. And if they don't, they should be penalized.
Yeah, dude, I agree somewhat, but this is crazy, dude. I don't know what to say, man. Like, we cannot have people at nighttime, right? Like, hitting their transfer portal. This is like bull crap, man. Like I can't believe I'm saying this, but I like the NFL better at this point, just because listen, I love college football way better than NFL all these years, but like, bro, these players, man, it's like they just care about either playing time or money. They don't care about being developed at this point. They don't. And the fact that one of our 5-star O linemen hit the portal because he wasn't getting playing time, like he doesn't care about being developed at this point. He's like, I just want a starting job, or you give me money. It's basically one or the other: starting job or money. That's what I feel. Do you agree on that, or not really?
Well, I think that we can't speak for every athlete in every instance. They're different.
Yeah, I agree.
There
I
are
agree on
different
that part.
priorities.
Yeah.
There are different so
Yeah.
forth. But we can, in general, say this is what they care about. And I got to think that they care about money, number one. Number two, and is that a bad thing? Well, I don't think it's good for the health of the sport, but individually, is that a bad thing? Well, I certainly have taken jobs based on money, and I got to think that just about everyone that's listening has taken jobs or left a job and gone to another job based on money. Now, the thing that you're bringing up as well is I do think that they care about development, but not necessarily development for the sake of the team or being a better teammate. but more about their NFL draft status. They care about that development.
Got ya. Yeah, no, I don't know what to say. And now, like when we have recruiting day and stuff, at this point, man, I'm not excited anymore when, we have December when signing day, because at the end of the day, man, many of these guys, they're not going to like stay, like they're just going to leave. So I'm just not going to get excited anymore. At the end of the day, man, it's all about transfer portal. That's what it feels like. And look at Indiana. That's exactly what they're doing. Their recruiting is really low. The recruiting level, like they're recruiting, getting recruits and stuff, it's like what, number 50, 40, but their transfer portal, it's like top 10, and they're doing it the right way. I'm sorry, man. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this. So we'll see, but I don't really like the future right now. And the government really, I feel, here's the problem. I truly don't think the U.S. government's going to get involved. I feel they could, but let's be real. They're really busy with Greenland right now. So like that's their last thing right now is college football. They need to go to Greenland and get the resources and oil. So we just don't really care. I guess they don't care. So we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. It's a really sad day today just because we had over 10 players hit the transfer portal. They're hitting at nighttime now, which is like bull crap. It's like when I wake up, who knows, more are going to hit the portal. And it's basically like, oh, you go, you don't make, I want this money. If not, oh, I'm going to hit the portal. Or you better pay me or I'm hitting the portal. Like the portal is now a way of you better pay me now and I'll not leave and I'll stay in the team, or I'm going to leave. That it's just, I don't know, dude.
We get the point, Burks. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Take care, man.
Thank you, Burks. All right. It gets a little repetitive after a while. Yes, we get the point. The transfer portal's out of control. I think most of us would agree on that. Some of us would not like any transfer portal. I would like to see a transfer portal that exists because I'm trying to balance what's good for the game with player rights as American citizens. So there should be a transfer portal to some degree, but it needs to be under control. And I think to get it under control, again, you got to sign these players to contracts. And somebody noted in the chat, do I want to make them employees? Well, not in a perfect world, I don't, but we don't exist anymore in a perfect world. That world was being played in the 1970s in college football. So under the conditions, they are employee. They're making money. So why not make them official employees? And, they're going to have to step up and understand the responsibility of being an employee. And yeah, sign them under contracts. And the only players that are going to be eligible for the transfer portal or what would be college football free agency would be the players whose contract elapsed that particular year. So when you come out of high school football and you sign a contract, you could just maybe sign a 1-year contract with the university, but the university may have, the football program would have the right, the option to obviously bypass that particular recruit, go to another recruit who may be slightly evaluated, slightly less of a player, but is willing to sign for 3 years. Or because you're only going to sign for 1 year, we're not going to pay you as much money as we would if you committed yourself to 3 years. Or if just like it works in the real world, in the professional ranks, if the team is less confident about the player and would rather sign them for 1 year rather than 3 years, and the player would want the security, then you've got the tussle going in the opposite direction. So there you go. Miami defeats Ole Miss 31-27. We're here at the Voice of College Football. It's the College Football Show. And I guess we'll take our 2 callers here and call it a night. We got George showing up. George, what's going on tonight?
Hey, Mark, I'm so happy for Miami. You and me, I know we're happy for Miami.
Ecstatic.
What a long-suffering fan base. What's it been, 23 years since they even got to the title game?
Yes, these are the first games that they have won of relevance since 2002.
Your
We're
Miami
losing you,
channel.
George. We cannot hear any of that. You're
I'm
digitized.
okay. I moved to a new apartment protected by big trees and no cell phone signals, so that's what that is.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have you. Can you click out and come back in?
No, I'm here. I can see you.
Well,
Can you see
that
me?
doesn't matter whether we can see you, George. We cannot hear you.
Not even now.
No. Yes. If, we'll let the chat decide. I cannot hear you.
I would have.
You're all digitized. I cannot
Let
hear
me talk
anything. That's what I'm hearing.
I'm outside now. Does that help?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, cool. Okay. That was a close one. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What do you got for us, George?
I feel like it's an old time telephone commercial going on here. Okay. I'm happy for Miami. That's all I had to say.
That's all you've got to say.
I am so.
That's all you've got to say.
I'm so happy for them. Oh yeah, one other thing. We need to teach young men that their word is not important and contracts don't matter, and you can just willy-nilly promise one university you'll be their loyal player, and we need to teach them. It's just show me the money, because that's the real world they're going to go out into when they graduate. The guy that said independent contractors, maybe that's right. I don't know. It's crazy though, ain't it? 4,000 players in the portal. It's a big circus.
Yeah. I don't like to see it, but at the same time, I'm not going to be the one that's going to advocate taking away the rights of American citizens to move.
Exactly. This isn't Somalia or something.
Well,
anyhow.
People would like it to be that very soon, but
I know.
Yeah.
Somalia's the biggest place.
Let's not get started on that one. But I hope Oregon wins. I'm tired of hearing about Indiana. And Oregon and Indiana have never won a national championship, so I'm picking Miami to win the whole thing. At least they have experience winning things.
Well, somebody does. None of these players that are playing, but sure.
They got Michael Irvin there.
The signs on campus have experience winning championships in the banner in the stadium.
I was there. I mean, I wasn't there, but I watched them win their first national championship when I was 23, and I'm 65, and now they have 5 of them. 5 of them. That's a lot. That's incredible, huh?
Have a lot of national championships. They got started late, and they won a lot in a hurry.
I really hope they win this year, because I swear to God, it's not a lie. Miami fans really do have PTSD, just like veterans do, from getting their head jerked around every year. They're doing good. They're doing good. They win the first 8 games and lose the next 4, like it's funny, man. No, poor guys. This is our big shot.
All right, George, do you have anything else for us?
Yeah, I wish I had money. I'd go put $20 on Miami.
All right. Well, George, it was good to hear from you.
Hey, I made a bet with a guy on another channel, and he lost $500 and sent me the money in the mail.
Well done.
Isn't that something?
Nice job.
I needed it too for my deposit. I had $1,000 deposit on my apartment, so I gave it to the landlord. He thinks I'm cool. Like, how did you do that? How'd you pay me off so quick? All right, love you guys. Back to football.
Thanks, George. We appreciate it. The longer I do these shows, I used to do these shows for like 5 hours, but I tell you, when they push like 2 hours now, it's like I got to get up. I cannot let my feet like go to sleep. So this will be the rest of the show here, which shouldn't last long. We got Minnesota Dave dropping by.
Hey, how's it going, Mark?
Hey, Dave, what's going on?
Well, I'm just going to say congratulations to the former Golden Gopher defensive coordinator.
Oh,
I
yes.
wish we still had him.
Yes. Doing wonders down there.
Yeah. That's
Corey
what happens
Heatherman.
when you decide not to pay your coordinators a decent amount of wage. They go somewhere else.
Yeah. I would be curious to know what he was making at Minnesota versus what he's making now.
I don't know exactly, Mark, but I could tell you that Minnesota, I think I told you before, Minnesota is last in paying their
Oh, yes. We did have that conversation. Dave,
in the
I
Big
am
Ten.
going to, you keep going. I'm going to look that up and see if I can find those numbers to see what Minnesota let him go for.
Yeah, okay. I also wanted to talk about, is the ACC now the better conference than the SEC?
No.
I know, I'm just saying. But hey, the last I think 7 games, I think they're 1-6 against the ACC. If you include the rivalry games at the end.
Yeah, so let's go through these games. Clemson, a 7-5 team, beat South Carolina 4-8 team. We would expect that to happen, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But unless you're derailed, then it's
Louisville, a 9-4 team, beats Kentucky, a 4-8 team. We would expect that to happen, right?
Yeah, but the SEC is supposed to be so great,
though. Georgia beat Georgia Tech. Okay. Florida State. I don't even remember who won that game. So I'd have to look that one up. I guess Florida State won. No, I think Florida won.
Florida won. I think Florida State only beat Bama.
Yeah, Florida beat Florida State. So those are your rivalry games, 2-2. And then Virginia. So for example, understand this, Dave. Missouri and Virginia played in a bowl game. Virginia was the number 1 seed. Forget Miami. Virginia was the number 1 seed in the ACC at 7-1. And Missouri's a 4-4 team in the SEC. Should they be playing in a bowl game?
Who? Which one? Virginia and who?
And Missouri.
Missouri.
How can we accurately judge that game?
I always thought that Missouri was overrated. So.
Well, no. That's not the point. The point is, should Ohio State play? Who went 4-4 in the SEC? Should Ohio State play Missouri in a bowl game? Would that be fair? Should Georgia play Minnesota in a bowl game? That's the equivalent.
Wow, you think that's the equivalent? Okay, all right.
It is. Georgia's the 1 seed in the SEC. Virginia was the 1 seed in the ACC. Missouri went 4-4 in the SEC. Minnesota went 5-4 in the Big Ten. So if Georgia played Minnesota in a bowl game and Georgia won the game, would we be saying, well, the SEC must be better? I don't think so.
I understand. I'm just trying to get derailed.
Well, I'm just, yes, the SEC's losing football games. There's no doubt about that. And they should be counted. But there are a lot of context there that some people want to ignore.
Hey, do you know, I haven't heard yet, has Corey Parrish finally found a school since he went in the portal?
Well, I know that one of our Ohio State guys brought him up during our show on Wednesday that they would like Ohio State to go after him. So apparently he's still out there.
Yeah, I think Miami's going after them really hard because the defensive coordinator wants him.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. Oh, gosh, Mark, man, we're talking about transfer portal stuff, and all I can say is I will never trust the Supreme Court with anything. If they can't vote him out of office, why should I be able to trust them?
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so let's get to this. Miami is apparently paying Corey Heatherman $1.2 million per year. And now I'm looking up Corey Heatherman's extension at Minnesota. Why does it not say? So there's an article that talks about his extension, but they don't have any contract figures.
Oh,
Okay. Well,
that's
they paid
interesting.
out his buyout. Miami did, which was $600,000.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Would have liked to kept him, you know. The defense needed a little bit more work this year. Probably needed him to be the defensive coordinator than what we have right now. But you know, PJ's hitting the portal pretty good. And so here's another question. How
According to
long?
Yahoo Sports, real quick, Dave, according to Yahoo Sports, Heatherman received $850,000 annual compensation at Minnesota, $1.2 million at Miami.
All right.
Sure difference.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah, my one other question is what if I think Wisconsin did a very good job in the portal. This is it's desperate times right now for them. You know, they need they need anything to work for them. And they have to, at least in my opinion, have to at least be 7-5 with either a win over Minnesota or Iowa, or both. So yeah, it's always interesting though. They always get these good quarterbacks to come in and then they get injured, which makes me wonder if they should fire their strength and conditioning coaches.
Yeah, that very well could be. Coy Parrish has visits this week to Texas Tech, Oregon.
Okay.
And
I think Michigan was one of them. I heard Michigan
actually,
from somebody.
when I typed in Coy Parrish's name into Google, it put Ohio State next to his name.
Oh.
But I don't see that listed in this story that says he's visiting Oregon and Texas Tech. But
yeah, I heard about the Texas Tech ones, and I heard about the Oregon. And he still says I'll keep Minnesota as an option just in case nobody wants me.
nobody wants him. Yeah.
Well, if he can do what he did his freshman year, that's great. If he does what he does in his sophomore year, they're going to struggle big time. Yeah, he did not do very well in his sophomore year compared to his freshman year. But he had better players around him on the defensive side of the ball than he did. He did last year compared to like he did this year. So, but that's pretty much it. Since you're probably tired and you want to get going, so
well, if you got anything else for us, Dave,
that's pretty much it for me. I have nothing else to talk about. Mark, have a nice night. Go to sleep, Mark.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it, man. All right, folks, do appreciate all of you showing up to talk college football with us. This is a tradition, of course, showing up after all these ball games every Saturday, certainly after all the playoff games, after the semifinal games. You got Matt Zemek lined up to talk to you tomorrow night after Oregon, Indiana, and then most likely it's going to be me after the national championship game. And so enjoy your conversation with Matt on Friday night. And I should probably that's not going to happen on Saturday. Can't do that on Saturday. I'm going to be tied up all day, but maybe a big transfer portal edition on Sunday where we can dive into this mess and try to sort through who's winning and losing in the transfer portal. All right, vocfb.com is a place you can get your favorite two brands merged together. Voice of College Football and your favorite football team. I've got Miami displayed there. Wonder why. So vocfb.com and check out the gear that we've got there. The College Football Show presented by FanDuel. And you will see me back here sometime over the weekend, possibly, if not Monday night. And again, it's Matt after Indiana, Oregon. And we will know who's playing in the national championship game at this point tomorrow night. Appreciate you being here. And remember, when you shop on Amazon, please use the link that we provide. Adam stopping by. Look at this. Love to see Adam. Adam, I quoted you on a video. You're going to have to check it out today. Adam says, say it with me, Mark. Miami fans, shut the hell up. Go win a game that matters. Yes, I did say that. I should be credited with spurring on this football team because maybe I was the secret sauce. Maybe it was all me. Because, yeah, after they lost to, I don't know, SMU or Louisville, I think it was Louisville because it was a Thursday or Friday night, I said, I am tired of hearing these Miami fans talk about these mythical games that they're going to win that they never do, and talking about winning 10 and 11 and 12 games every year, and they never do, talking about winning playoff games and championships that they never do, and predicting this and forecasting this every year, and they never do, and talking about, wow, you beat Notre Dame, big deal. Then they lose 2 games to Louisville and SMU midseason, win something. Well, they have now won something. They still have yet to win a national championship and no conference championship. So if they don't get the national championship one here, I don't know what that's going to accomplish. Of course, it was a great run. I'm not discounting the run. It's a remarkable run. But in terms of winning some kind of championship, that has not been accomplished since 2001 or 2002 in the Big East, I guess, would be their last official championship. But absolutely, congratulations, Adam, for the guy that might comment back to the channel more than anybody out there, even George. I believe Adam has supplanted George as the most frequent commenter to the channel. So Adam, if for nothing else but analytics reasons and algorithms, thank you so much for commenting back to the channel. But I did take one of your comments today and I posted that to a video. It was not necessarily a video that people wanted to watch, but I did capitalize on your comment. Thanks for being here, folks. We will see you after the ball game on Friday night.